I don't have the statistics, but I have read and heard that the number of psychotropic, and that may not be the correct word, but the drugs prescribed for mental illness, that's a huge amount of the prescriptions, legal prescribed drugs in this country. And interestingly enough, children are being prescribed Prozac. Now, so there's no age limit to their insanity. And these are just their extreme cases that they would classify as being mentally ill, but just the things that they do, the people who are called sane would also fit under insanity to me. So on my list, schizophrenia, one of their classified diseases, they hear voices telling them to kill. And it's interesting, years ago I read an article on...
Their ancestors talking to them.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, Brother Baruti. Their ancestors telling them to kill. But I read an article on demons, and I don't have the definition in front of me. I don't remember it, but reading every sentence of that article, it was like an epiphany. Oh, this is a description of Europeans. This is what they do. Multiple personality, and I guess maybe then they are inhabited by different ones of their ancestors with different personalities, but all of them, none, haven't heard of any split personalities bringing good in the world. Again, the focus is on death. The relatively new to me in terms of hearing about it is bipolar or manic depressive. But, it speaks to them as a people. Let me backtrack and just say all of these things that I'm describing, European insanity, it originates with them, it predominates with them, but many of us have caught these contagious diseases, and we have the same symptoms. But bipolar or manic depressive. So these are people who have no sense of balance. So it's always extreme. So either they're extremely happy, they're spending money like crazy, they can't think logically, or then they go on the next day, they crash from their manic state. But never, I guess definitely never in a state of balance. The perversions that they practice all speak to not a sense of a sound or balanced mind. Homosexuality, which of course goes against nature, but that's a major description of them. They are anti-nature. Everything that they do goes against what's natural and orderly according to the laws of the universe. And even definitely with male homosexuality, it's kept quiet, but it is getting out. These people end up with biological, physical damage to their rectums because, it's like rape, to be raped repeatedly. And we were told years ago by a nurse who worked in a hospital that a lot of them have to wear diapers because those muscles have, just been ruptured. But not only in men, but also, that's also seen with women who participate in anal sex. Again, that goes against nature. So they're destroying body parts, those muscles in the rectum, and, continually going back to the hospital to be stitched up. Okay, clearly that's not the behavior of a sane person. Their pedophilia, the list goes on and on. Incest, how could you even the thought cross your mind of having sex with the life that you brought into this world, or even children. And, those numbers are crazy in terms of the victims of pedophilia in this country. And even, I guess maybe for some of them who don't actually rape or molest the children, their white male infatuation with teenage models. So you have their teenage white models where they look like boys. But, that's an example of their attraction to anything that's not natural or normal instead of an attraction to women. And even their fantasies, sexual fantasies, speak to that. So this spanking or their sexual practices. For people who were spanked, nobody wanted to get a spanking. Spanking is something bad. It is a punishment. So who in their sane mind wants to be spanked? But when your mind is perverted, that seems funny and cute to you. And so black people are now into that, which, is related to this sadism, masochism, and we're laughing about it. And all the black women who are buying this book, Shades of Grey, which that's part of this, and Sherry, whoever on The View, making jokes about the book and talking about, practicing that. So whatever insanity they have, unfortunately, we sign up in droves to be insane and perverted like them when we're trying to, when we're following them. And that sadism, masochism is also, that's what they practiced on us when we were enslaved and forcing us to, raping us, okay, and then, but calling us animals, treating us less than animals, yet raping us. But, of course, on the one hand, that's their association of sex and violence. But all of that, insanity, you can't even sort out. But then, you have black people buying the handcuffs and following that same insanity. How could anything between our enslavement, being physically cuffed, and the incarceration rates of our people in this country, that should be the last thing that sane Africans would be practicing or find amusing or funny. But when we're not in our African mind, we are behaving in insane ways. Part of their perverted, insane minds, a refusal to accept the body and gender that the Creator has given them, so much so that those who can't afford it will go to surgeons to change who they were born as, and even worse than that, they will change to one gender and they find out that they're still unhappy because it's, insanity. So a sex change operation and hormones won't change that. So they become a new gender and they're still unhappy because, it's a mental illness and you can't cure that with physical disease. Of course, they used to practice lobotomy, so that would just then you totally don't have, your part of your mind has been removed. But, their mental illness, drugs help with certain things. It might quiet some of those voices, but this other behavior that they are not treating and they are not recognizing as insane definitely continues. These are suicidal people. A natural and normal mind seeks self-preservation, and so that's why even in babies, if you're doing something to cover their noses or something that's causing them pain, they'll scream. If they're hungry, they're trying to survive. That's a natural instinct. But, we see it in them being daredevils, their extreme sports, bungee jumping, zip lining, anything and everything, hand gliding, anything to go against the laws of nature, race car driving, and they do know it's not as if nobody has been killed yet. People get killed doing that. But if you are suicidal on the one hand, anything that may bring you death is all of those things are exciting. At the same time, they're suicidal. They're also very homicidal. And, of course, we see the extreme cases of that with serial killers, mass murderers. But, even when they're not on that scale, the number of murders that they commit, from killing their own babies. So let's go back to abortion on the one hand, kill them before they're born, or if they didn't make the decision early enough after they're born. And the number of babies we're hearing about being killed and found dead, that in this society continues to grow. They're killing their fathers, killing their mothers, their siblings. But, if you have a demonic desire for death, then anyone is fair game to you. Definitely psychopathic, an adjective used to describe them. And even their children are homicidal. There was a special on one of these news magazines, I think 2020, and they talk about these parents and their children, the homicidal children. They want to kill their siblings, and the parents and the siblings living in a state of fear, and in some cases having to remove them from the home, or they have to be drugged to keep them from killing their own family members. But also, psychopaths have no conscience. And so what a sense of normalcy and balance, things that would prevent us from even thoughts crossing our mind, become, daily thoughts, voices, and, their main focus in life. And their torturing of animals is a major way that's seen early, and when studies show a child who tortures animals, they're practicing on the animals. They grow up to be murderers, okay? But again, when you have no conscience, you're able to do those things. They're sadistic, masochistic, alluded to that, raping people, the desire to inflict pain, incarcerating people, torturing people, things that they do regularly, but then that's the sadistic part. But masochistic, they'll pay for people to whip them, and they will cut themselves, and they say, they have to do this to feel that they are alive. Wow, so they feel dead. So I guess maybe that's why they do much of what they do. At least the momentary adrenaline allows them to feel alive, but maybe that's because they're dead inside. And then if that's the case, then all the things that we represent, what's natural to us and a love of life, would be the antithesis, just the opposite for them. They have a great inferiority complex, which shows up in their need to dominate others, and not just single individuals, a desire to dominate peoples, to dominate the physical planet, the universe, all things. And it's an insatiable desire, just like their desire to kill and rape. All of these examples of their mental illness is not something that occasionally pops up. We will hear extreme cases make it to the news, but it's something that's being practiced daily somewhere by whoever is practicing European culture. So starting with them, but all of those other people who unfortunately are being oppressed by them and have taken on, it's like the Stockholm syndrome, where someone is kidnapped, and over time they fall in love with the kidnapper, and definitely speaks to the insanity of African people. But again, we have caught this contagious disease.